Hey guys, so I was in search for a new show or new series to watch, and one happened across my Netflix screen called 13 Reasons Why. I checked out the trailer, and it seemed pretty interesting, so I go ahead and start playing episode number one, and I had no idea the emotional journey that I was in for, and this one was a bit of a doozy. Before I begin, I want to go ahead and direct you guys to the description box down below where I've left a couple of links as well as phone numbers for a couple of foundations and helplines, including suicide prevention and sexual abuse hotlines. If you or anyone you know could benefit from the sharing of the link or phone numbers, please do so. You or the ones you love should not have to suffer in silence. So let's go ahead and talk about the series. The series is about a high schooler named Clay who sent a box of cassette tapes by his classmate and crush, Hannah, who has actually recently committed suicide. Clay must listen to the tapes left by Hannah as she describes her experiences and what ultimately led to her death. This story is actually based on a novel by a man named Jay Asher. What's interesting about this series is actually how it got picked up. Selena Gomez, the singer, actually read the novel and went ahead and took it to a production company to have it made into a film because she liked it so much. She thought it was so impactful. She took it to a production company to have it made. They agreed to go ahead and make it. She was attached to actually play Hannah in the series, which is the main girl of the series. What happened was it changed production companies. Selena Gomez dropped out, but she did remain on as an executive producer. The series instead stars Katherine Langford as Hannah and Dylan Minnette of Goosebumps and Don't Breathe as Clay. Guys, this series was absolutely mind-blowing. It tackled so much subject matter in a matter of 13 episodes that I was just not prepared for. They tackle all sorts of subjects from bullying to suicide to rape to everything, home life, school life. There's just a lot of sensitive subjects that I think a lot of people are a bit afraid to talk about at times. This show tackles just about every single subject, and it hits home pretty hard. It's difficult to watch at times, but it's definitely worth it, and it's extremely impactful. This show is by no means an easy show to watch. This show, again, tackles a lot of difficult subject matter as Clay sort of discovers things about Hannah that not a lot of people sort of knew about, or certain people knew about but weren't willing to share what happened in her story. And I feel like that was a little bit difficult to watch at times. But the way the series kicks off is a little bit more of a mystery as Clay sort of has to discover why Hannah decided to commit suicide. And that was a little bit more interesting part and what really kept me going in the beginning of the series. But as the show progressed, it got heavier and heavier in subject matter, and it became a little bit more difficult to watch at times, but it's also real things that happen to real people. And that's why I think that's what makes this show so great. And possibly the book. I don't know. I haven't read the book. But this was a really great series that, again, tackled a lot of difficult subject matter in a way that I think people can sort of take it in a little bit. But I don't really know how to describe it. It's just you have to watch it to really understand, because I don't really want to blab too much about it, because they are subject matter that I think are important to talk about. Just people don't really want to talk about them in the way they happen. And the way the show shows you how they happen, it sort of brings it a little bit more home and adds a little bit more weight to it as the impact of not only just the person it's happening to, but the way it ripple effects out. And it affects not only you, but your social circle, your family members, the community. And that's what I liked about this show. It really showed that ripple effect, that how one person's torment and ultimate decision to do this act of committing suicide really affects not only them and their family, but it can affect an entire community. And that was really something that I took away from this. It's not just you and the people that it's happening to. It can potentially be everyone by just a single person, how they're connected all together. This show by no means sets out to shock and awe audiences. It's not meant to shock you as far as the subject matter. It's not meant to shock you to the point where it's unbearable to watch or anything like that. It's not meant to do that. It's just meant to bring awareness. And I think that that's what's really the most important lesson you can kind of take away from this, and all the subject matter that it covers. You're supposed to take away that these things are happening in the real world. And I think it's most relevant now because some of the subject matter that happens in the series happens right outside your door. They're happening in schools today, and I think that there's been certain events things that happen in this series are happening in schools today and have been in the news and certain things like that. And I think that's some of the subject matter. I don't want to get too much into it because I think it's something you need to watch to really understand. But I think that that's one of the big takeaways from this series is that these things are happening right now in schools, happening to teenagers, happening in life, and it's just meant to bring awareness, and it really, really hits home. Something I will talk about this series, however, is the performances. Katherine Langford, who played Hannah, this was really her first sort of big role, and she absolutely nailed it. She did a phenomenal job of Hannah. She did the experiences of what's the subject matter that's in the show, and they're not light, they're not easy to take. And she really played that part of that torment and the struggles that she was really going through. And it hurts to watch her go through those things and do these things, but I just think she did such an amazing job. She really went through it professionally, and I really look forward to what she does in the future. And then as Clay, Dylan Minnette, I feel like this was easily his best role of his entire career so far. He's done movies, like I said before, Goosebumps, Don't Breathe. But this one, he really puts himself out there. He really shows his acting chops in this one. He does a lot more dramatic stuff. Again, impactful, heavy-hitting stuff that I think is really important. His character is a little bit weird. It's kind of in the same realm of what he normally plays, but I feel like he sort of stretched himself a little bit further dramatically as far as the series go, and I think that he did, again, this was easily his best performance, in my opinion, thus far of his career. The rest of the cast, again, was absolutely amazing. Everyone did a great job, but my favorite has to be Christian Navarro as Tony. Tony was just like this sort of it was mostly in the background character. He sort of was very much in the background in the beginning, and then he sort of develops a little bit more throughout the series, and we learn a little bit more about him. But he's just a big mystery in this series. I think that was one of the most interesting things about his character, is that he was very mysterious, and he had his funny moments and things like that, but just his dedication to Hannah and his goal of trying to help Hannah in a way, I think is really great. He was my favorite character of the series, but everyone else in the entire series, all of the cast members, did a phenomenal job, and I think it was absolutely outstanding. My biggest issue with the series, however, is that I felt like there were a couple of situations, a couple scenarios, some lines of dialogue, interactions that felt a little bit, not necessarily campy, but it felt like it belonged a bit on like the CW. It was just a little bit over dramatic. I don't know if it was the way it was shot or the dialogue. I'm not entirely sure what it was that reminded me of that, but it reminded me of just like a sitcom type of show, drama sitcom, whatever you want to call them, that are on TV on the CW. It just didn't really, it sort of took away from the show, the realism of the show. And I felt like that hurt it just a little bit, but those moments are so few and far between that you almost don't notice them. But when they do happen, it sort of just takes you out of the show for a minute, and that realism. And I think that's the biggest complaint that I have about 13 Reasons Why. But other than that one complaint, I have to highly recommend 13 Reasons Why. The show is phenomenal. It has great subject matter, hard-hitting subject matter, great lessons, a ton of great things that I think various generations can take away from this series. And for that reason, I have to give 13 Reasons Why an A. Again, this was a phenomenal series that has subject matter that's very difficult to talk about, but it happens to teens, adults. It impacts the community every single day. And I think there's nothing, we can talk about it all day long, but when you see it on a show, even if it's just a show, seeing the impact that it can have to various people, or how the situation can affect people, not just the person that these things are happening to, but the way it ripples out, back to that rippling out into your social circle, your family, your community, and beyond. These events have effects to all kinds of people. I feel like it's a super important show to watch. We can talk about it all day, but when you watch it, it really brings it home. And I think that's what's really important, is that these things happen every single day, just right outside, and we just have to be aware of them and know the signs to better make sure that these sorts of things don't happen. These topics need to be discussed in order to bring awareness to them, in order to bring awareness to the people, that let people know that they're not alone in certain situations, to bring awareness so that the community, our friends, our family can know certain signs and not be so focused on work or whatever other things there may be, that lives are important. And I think that that's, again, another big lesson from this series. And I can't say enough good things about it. Again, I don't want to spoil too much. I just highly recommend you see it, because it's I think it's a very important series to watch. Again, hard to watch, but definitely worth it. Again, I've also left links and phone numbers in the description down below to helplines, foundations that can help, including, again, sexual awareness, sexual assault, and suicide prevention. There's a couple of other links and phone numbers down there that I think are very important. Please share them if you or someone you know may need them. It doesn't hurt to share it. Put it on your Facebook, whatever, Instagram, whatever. Just let people know that they're not alone, because that's the hardest part, I think, is making the awareness known, and knowing that people letting those people know they shouldn't be afraid to get help. Very, very important. Those links and phone numbers all down below. Make sure you share at least one of them or something like that, please. Let them know that their lives matter no matter what. I apologize if I kind of sounded like a bit of a PSA a couple of times, or if I brought you down with this video. I don't mean to do that. It's just that this series, it's not like those big super fun series or Power Rangers or anything like that I've been talking about lately. It's a lot heavier series. It's a little bit difficult to talk about, but definitely worth it. And I think that's important. Again, I can't stress how important some of the things that happen in this series are, or the links and phone numbers down below. It's super important. So I apologize if I sound like a PSA or brought you down with this video. It's just a great series that I highly recommend, and I think you should check it out. Guys, thank you so much for watching. I'll hopefully have a more fun video for you pretty soon. But be sure to hit the subscribe button down below as well. Make sure you hit the notification bell, just so you know other videos that I'll have. Hopefully more fun, exciting videos coming out soon. I have a bunch lined up, so be on the lookout for those. Guys, thank you so much for watching. You really are the best, and I will see you in the next one.